Hi everyone, this is a glass grinder. Now generally when we're using the glass grinder, it is used to shape pieces of glass that we want to make sure it can fit together really tightly, or a poor cut that we made, we're doing corrections on it. So you would have your piece of glass that you need to shape, and then the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to walk over to the machine and you're going to make sure that there is water in it. It's a small amount of water. The way that you're going to know if there's water in it is you're going to squeeze the sponge. If the sponge is wet, that means there's enough water in there allowing the sponge to be wet. And so you would be okay to use it. Now the reason we want to make sure that there is water in here is a couple of different things. So one of them is it helps make sure that the diamond bit that is on here, that it is lubricated and not going to break off by wear and tear. The other thing that it does, the water does, is it keeps your glass cool so that your glass is less likely to get thermal shock and shatter while you're grinding it down, because there is a lot of friction involved in grinding a piece of glass down. And the third reason that you want to make sure there is water in here is it is going to wet the glass debris, so the fine powder that comes off of your glass when you're grinding it, it is going to wet that down because you don't want to inhale that. That is really bad for your lungs. If you are inhaling that dry glass, what happens is it can cut your lungs just like glass would cut your finger. In order to prevent that, we just need to make sure that the surface right here and the glass that you're grinding remains wet. So making sure that you have water in here is very important. Now, normally what you'll see is there's a little Dixie cup that sits here on the side, and that's because sometimes if you overfill it, the water will drip out the edge right there. So if you do find that there is water in the Dixie cup, it means that it was probably already overfilled and you're probably not going to need to add more water to it. However, if the sponge is dry, you could simply take the Dixie cup, go fill it halfway up, and then pour it in over the top. And that is going to be enough lubrication in order to take care of the things that we need the water to take care of. So you really don't want a whole lot. Is that when you're pushing your piece of glass against the bit, if you are pushing too hard, you are actually cutting the backs of your fingers. So if you ever notice that you have weird cuts on your fingers or thumbs, it is because you're definitely pushing too hard, pushing the glass into that bit too hard. And you want to make sure that you're not doing that for a couple different reasons. One, you're injuring yourself. But two, you're actually going to break off the diamond bits that are on there by pressing too hard. You are also more likely to chip your glass, and when you chip your glass, you're going to have more work to do than if you were just patiently let the grinder do its job. So make sure that you are not pushing too hard on the piece of glass when you're grinding. Other than that, this is a really safe machine. In fact, if you were to put your finger on it while it's running, it's not going to hurt you, or at least it's going to take a long period of time to hurt you. You can put your finger on it and it'll feel silky smooth right until the time that eventually you have ground off all the skin on your finger. So you want to make sure that you do know that you can touch it. You just shouldn't have a prolonged moment where you're touching the diamond bit. But other than that, it's a really good machine. Now, the reason we keep them in the fish tanks that you see here is to make sure that your clothes are not getting sprayed with water, because again, we have some water that is in there, and sometimes it sprays. So that's what the fish tanks are for. Other than that, this is the glass grinder. Thank you.